The Puppeteer's Downfall. I was never one to get involved in drama, always preferring the quiet corners of life. But when I met Lisa, everything changed. She was the kind of person who lit up a room with her laughter and her warmth, the kind you'd never imagine would end up in the nightmare I'm about to recount. It started innocently enough. Lisa and I were at a local coffee shop when she got a message from an old friend, Mark. He was back in town after years abroad, and they decided to catch up. I met Mark a few times after that, and he seemed nice enough, if not a bit too charming for his own good. But Lisa trusted him, and that was good enough for me. Months passed, and their friendship seemed to grow. Then, one day, I noticed Lisa was quieter. Her eyes lacked the usual spark. When I asked, she brushed it off as stress from work. But I knew her too well. Something was off. It wasn't until weeks later that I pieced it together. Mark had been manipulating her, slowly isolating her from her friends and family. He'd borrow money he never repaid, twist her words to make her doubt her sanity, and worst of all, he began to control her. The final straw was when I found out he was recording her without consent, using these recordings to blackmail her into staying quiet about his manipulations. I confronted Mark, but he laughed it off, saying it was all consensual. He even threatened to release the recordings publicly if we made any noise about it. Lisa was terrified, and I felt powerless. But that night, I decided I wouldn't let him win. I started by gathering evidence. I knew his routine, his haunts, his habits. I had access to Lisa's phone where he sent those threatening messages. I copied everything, every bit of evidence that could prove his manipulation. But I knew this wouldn't be enough. Mark was too cunning to fall for a simple legal battle. I began to plan something more personal. I found out about his secret gambling problem, his debts, and the shady people he owed money to. Using a burner phone, I contacted these individuals, tipping them off about Mark's whereabouts and his hidden assets. But I needed more than just financial ruin. I needed him to feel the fear he instilled in Lisa. One evening, I followed him to a bar where he often met his less savory acquaintances. I watched, waited, and then, as he left, I slipped a note into his pocket. It was a simple message. Your secrets are no longer safe. I watched his face pale under the streetlight as he read it. Over the next weeks, I orchestrated a campaign of psychological terror. I sent him anonymous letters, each containing pieces of his own dirty laundry, photos from his surveillance of Lisa, and threats of exposure to his family and employer. His sleep was disturbed by calls from unknown numbers playing recordings of his own voice from the blackmail tapes. Then came the real shocker. I staged a break-in at his apartment, not to steal, but to leave a message. I found his collection of blackmail material and left it all out in plain sight with one addition: a fake police report stating an investigation into his activities was underway. The fear of the law and public exposure was too much. Mark spiraled. He started to lose everything: his job, his friends, his sanity. But the pièce de résistance was when I manipulated one of his debt collectors into believing Mark had betrayed him. This led to Mark being ambushed one night, beaten, and left in an alley with a warning: this is just the beginning. Mark was never the same. He moved away, but not before everyone knew him as the paranoid man who lost his grip on reality. His life was shattered, his reputation ruined, and his psyche broken. Lisa and I moved on, but not before she saw the justice, albeit a dark one, served. She healed slowly, but she healed. And me? I learned that sometimes, to protect the ones you love, you have to delve into the darkness you never knew you were capable of embracing.